Charles was a successful businessman who lived with his wife. He was a highly regarded person who was respected by society. His wife, Lillian, was a graduate of computer science from one of the leading universities in the city. Charles got married to Lillian during her final year of university. When Lillian graduated, Charles refused to let her work. Lillian didn't like the idea of being a full-time housewife. All Lillian's plea fell on deaf ears, yet he refused. Even though Charles could afford it, he declined when his wife suggested that he opens a supermarket for her to run. Still, he stated he wanted her to stay at home and look after the family. He told her he would give her a monthly salary to buy whatever she wanted. However, things were not all perfect. Charles forbid Lillian from leaving the house. She wasn't permitted to go out to see friends or family. He only allowed a selected group of people to visit her. Anytime Lillian would question Charles' behavior, he would assure her that he was doing everything because he loved her and he cared. According to him, Lillian's husband didn't want her to be corrupted by the outside world. Soon, Lillian became pregnant and fell so sick that she needed assistance for almost everything. Lillian then suggested to her husband that they hire a housemaid to help her out. Charles refused. Instead, he told her that they should bring in her sister, Natalie, who was also a graduate but was unemployed at the time. Lillian was happy and immediately agreed, promising to call Natalie. She called her sister, who accepted the offer and moved in with them promptly. Little did Lillian know that her husband brought up the whole idea because he and Natalie were having a secret affair. Luckily for Lillian, she gave birth to triplets, 2 boys and a girl. The entire family was overjoyed. Both Lillian and Charles' parents came to celebrate. The new father was joyous too. As time passed, it became harder for Natalie to take care of the house and the children alone. Since Lillian was still recovering, she could not help out, and neither could Charles because he was busy with work. Therefore, Natalie suggested to Charles that he should hire a house help. Charles complied and employed a woman, Peace. Secretly, Charles opened a supermarket for Natalie. When this happened, Natalie told her sister that she had gotten a new job in a manufacturing company in the city. Lillian was so happy for her sister. In the morning, Natalie and Charles would live together and return together in the evening. Meanwhile, Peace took care of the children. Once again, Lillian began to complain about being stuck in the house. She pleaded with Charles to let her get a job, but Charles still refused, saying the children needed her more. This threw Lillian in a deep depression. She wanted to go out, feel fresh air, and be free again. Sometimes later, Charles began to criticize Lillian's stature, often comparing her body to her sister's. Lillian was deeply offended and asked her husband why he would say such things. Her sister was younger and not had any children, yet while Lillian was still recovering from giving birth to 3 babies. Angry, Charles stormed out of the room. Due to this fight, Lillian spent the whole night crying, unable to sleep. The following morning, as soon as she woke up, Lillian phoned her parents and narrated the whole story to them. After hearing the story, Lillian's parents advised her to take things easy and try to listen to her husband until she had fully recovered from childbirth. That night, Charles did not return home after work. Despite Lillian calling him repeatedly, he would not pick up his phone. Lillian was worried. Lillian asked her sister about her husband's whereabouts since they usually leave the house together every morning. But Natalie told Lillian that she didn't see him because he had left much earlier than usual that day. Lillian was extremely concerned about her husband's disappearance. Desperate for answers, Lillian called Charles' parents and other family members, but they all didn't know where he was. While Lillian was worrying, Natalie consoled her sister, telling her that that's how men behave, going and coming when they are angry. Charles' parents told her that their son could be like that sometimes, leaving when he was upset but always returning in the end. Despite all this, Lillian was still uneasy. The next morning, Lillian took a trip to the police station to report her husband's disappearance. Later that evening, Natalie broke the news of her pregnancy to her older sister. She announced that she would be moving into her boyfriend's house. Lillian was joyful for her sister, but also upset that her sister would be leaving when she needed her most. She congratulated her, but asked Natalie why she was so secretive about her relationship. When the next morning came, Natalie packed all her belongings and left Lillian's house. Lillian offered to accompany her sister, however, Natalie declined, telling her to stay with her children. When Natalie left, Lillian felt lonelier than ever. Peace comforted her employer. While Peace was talking to Lillian, Lillian's phone rang. It was Charles. She answered it immediately, filled with joy because he finally contacted her again. As soon as she picked up the phone, the call was ended. She suddenly received a text message from Charles stating that he did not want anything to do with her or the children and he did not want her to find or look for him. Devastated, Lillian began to sob uncontrollably. Unsure of what to do, Peace used her phone to call Lillian's parents to come over. Swiftly, they arrived to check on their precious daughter. They called Charles over and over again, but his phone was switched off. Lillian's mother then asked about Natalie. Lillian explained how Natalie moved out to live with her boyfriend and she had struggled to get a hold of her since she left. This confused their parents. They told their daughter that Natalie told them that she still lives with Lillian. Worried and scared, both Lillian and the parents called Natalie, but she was unreachable. A few weeks later, while Peace was fetching grocery for Lillian, she came across a shocking sight. A heavily pregnant Natalie and Charles with his hand around her waist. Peace could not believe her eyes. Carefully, she avoided them in the store. She decided to do some investigating and discovered that they lived together. Immediately, Peace rushed home and retold all she knew to Lillian, who was deeply disappointed. Lillian thanked Peace profusely before explaining that she had moved on and wanted to leave them in the past. She had suspected an affair for a while but didn't want to voice her worries. Soon enough, Lillian got a job to provide for her family and her children enrolled in a school. Some years later, they graduated with flying colors and got high-paying jobs. By that time, Peace had left to start her own family but still checked in on Lillian and her children from time to time. Like Lillian had dreamt all those years ago, she finally owned her own store where she had several staffs working for her. On one fateful morning, a fairly old man entered the store and asked to speak to the owner. When Lillian saw him, she recognized that it was Charles. Deeply angered, Lillian gave the supermarket security strict instructions not to let Charles on the property ever again. Charles pleaded and begged with the security, but they refused. On another occasion, Lillian's children went to visit her at her store since they had moved away with their own separate families. Luckily for Charles, he happened to be there that day too. As the children entered the building, Charles yelled frantically that he was their father. They were completely confused because Lillian had told them their father was dead. When they had gotten upstairs to the office, they told her about the tattered man. Lillian still told them that their father was dead and it couldn't be him because if he was really alive all this time, he would have reached out. Desperate for answers, the children asked their mother to give the man a chance to speak. Charles apologized with tears in his eyes as he spoke to his children. Once they learnt about what their father had done to them in the past, they were angry and refused to accept his apology. He fell to the ground, regretting his terrible actions.